Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending this live event. I think you all know who I am. I'm Mr. Djemal, I'm the head of Year 11, and I'm going to be hosting the event this evening. I have a number of other key members of staff with me today. They're going to share some important information with you and help you as parents, as well as the students in the build-up to your exams. So let's have a look at who we've got with us. Mr. Kinson, who is the head teacher, he's going to speak with you this evening. We also have Mr. Broad, the deputy head and our science lead. He's going to talk to you about the science exams and how they're going to look. Mr. Bucho, director of sixth form, and talking about your opportunities for next year and moving on into the sixth form. Miss Cole-Burke, our assistant head and our English lead, talk to you about your English exams. And Miss Dodd, also an assistant head, also going to talk to you about the maths exams, as she's the maths lead. The running order for this evening. So the plan is, first of all, you're going to hear from Mr. Kinson. He's going to talk to you about the importance of assessments and the possibility of centre assessed grades. So similar to what we went through last year with the last year's Year 11s. We've then got the coming weeks ahead and your exam timetable and how the exams are going to be conducted in November and the importance of the exams. You'll then hear from the English, Maths and Science leads, as I said a moment ago. And they're going to speak to you about how to achieve the best possible grades in these subjects. We're going to look at the role of the parent and how you as parents can support the students with revision strategies. I'm going to be giving you some information about mental health, your child's mental health, and how you can support over the coming, in the coming year. Mr. Bucho will talk to you then about the Lea Valley Academy sixth form, and I will show you what is in the Year 11 revision pack, what we handed out to our students today in their form time. And at the end, there'll be an opportunity for anybody to type in any questions, and we will do our best to answer as many of them as we can. We'll try and answer all of them. Okay, so I'm going to now hand over to Mr. Kinson, who is going to talk to you about the exams for this year.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us on our Year 11 curriculum evening. It's clearly unusual times. It was unusual times last year, and we're still in these times. And I think what we're saying to students is you'll have heard lots of information in the news. Will there be exams? Won't there be exams? And I think it's important that we actually plan for both scenarios. So it's really important that we will carry on our preparation for exams in the same way, but also we are going to be preparing centre assessed grades. And what we're going to say, we are saying to students, is in the event of us having to do centre assessed grades, it's really important that every assessment opportunity that students have, they view that as an opportunity to demonstrate the progress they've made, their level of their ability, and to provide an opportunity to give us an excuse to give them the highest possible centre assessed grade. And that's really, really important. We're putting a number of other things in place as well. Obviously, students will have lost some time. They lost the summer term. So starting after half term, we're introducing period sixes on a Monday, a Wednesday and a Thursday, where students will have additional supervised study. We are also going to provide students with revision guides to help them support to catch up with work they may have missed, and also to help them prepare for their exams. Also, you'll notice on the screen, you might notice the icon at the top right hand side. That's the Teams icon. So far we've been really fortunate. All the safety provisions we've put in the school have been effective, and we have so far not have any positive cases of people having COVID. However, based on the experience of other local schools, that there is a strong possibility this may happen in Lea Valley, and potentially it could happen in Year 11. And if that's the case, we've already started to check that students have access to Teams. And I think it's really, really important as parents, you can support the school, but more importantly, support your sons and daughters. Please make sure they know how to get onto Teams, because in case we do have any positive cases, we will then move towards I think the term that's being used in the local media is blended learning. So lessons will be held over Teams, and that's really important that all students as a contingency know how to get onto Teams. So that's all for me for this section. and I believe we're going to now look and talk about each of the core subjects. And first up is maths, and I'm now going to hand over to Miss Dodd.
Hello, good evening. I just want to talk about exams for a little while, if that's okay. So the PPEs are coming up. They start on Monday the 23rd of November and they run for 2 weeks. Now PPE obviously means something different at the moment, but actually it actually stands for pre-public exam for us. Now we're very aware that actually some students have probably found it quite difficult to come back into school. So we really want to find a balance of preparing students for their summer GCSEs, but also being aware of well-being. So we are aware that the current year 11 haven't been in the exam hall for quite a while. So we want to give them an experience of preparing for that set of exams and also those exam conditions. But also, more importantly, we want teachers to know what parts of the curriculum to focus on to help the students to progress as best they can. And also, like Mr. Kinson said, they're very key in terms of supporting predicted grades, whether that be for college or in the event of a lockdown, centre assessed grades. Now, in terms of what to expect, I'm not going to go through all the rules and regulations. We will have an assembly to inform students of what that will look like. But just what I've put on the screen is some key points. One that I really want to flag up is the phones, smartwatches and electronic devices. It's really important that if students are not happy with them being locked in a cloakroom, that they do not bring them to school. Okay, that's something that could really jeopardise their PPEs and ultimately their real GCSEs. We'll be following the same conditions as real GCSEs and BTEC exams, so students can get used to that. And obviously in terms of communication, that shouldn't happen in the exam venue at all. And like I say, they will have an assembly in order to prepare for that nearer the time. Okay, so this is actually the first time that students will have seen this. So that is week 1 of the PPE timetable. Like I mentioned earlier, we've tried to really balance the 2 weeks to make sure that students aren't overloaded at all. So on the first week, we've made sure that students only have a maximum of 1 exam a day. We've split up the big exams like maths, English and science. Students have, and then their option subjects on a Thursday afternoon. Week 2, we did want to give students the opportunity to do 2 exams on a day because they will experience that in the summer. So we've done that on the second Tuesday. But again, we've had a real focus on making sure that that student wellbeing is considered and those exams are spread out. There's just a slide there about exam access arrangements. Students will know if they qualify for that. So this doesn't apply to everyone. That's just a slide from Miss Redmond, our Director of Inclusion. Students were tested last year to see if they qualified for access arrangements. You will be aware if that applies to you. So that's just some information there, if that does apply to you, to give some more information. I'm now going to pass on to Miss Cole-Burke, who's going to talk to you about English.
Good evening, everyone. Just wanted to give you a little bit of details about the English language exams. As you can see on the screen in front of you, there are 2 exams that students will have to take in the summer. Now, the first exam is the fiction one. You can see there in front of you is 1 hour for reading questions, and then it's 45 minutes to describe or narrate. And there is a picture stimulus to support that. The second paper is English language paper 2, and that is a non-fiction extract or extracts that students have to read. And then for 45 minutes, they've got to write to express their viewpoint, and it's usually a non-fiction type of writing. That is also what will be based on the PPE will be based on in November. So they will do English language paper 2. You can see at the bottom of the screen there that spoken language is also an element, and students will have to do a speech. They'll either get a pass, a merit or distinction to pass their English language course. Now, moving on to English literature. It's in front of you there. This is where most of the AQA updates about the changes to exams have come into place. So you can see the first English literature paper is 1 hour and 40 minutes. The first section of that is on a text called A Christmas Carol, and the second section is an Inspector Calls. That is a closed book exam, so the students won't be able to take their books into the exam and won't have any books provided. The second paper is English literature paper 2, slightly longer there. Again, it's a closed book exam, and that has Romeo and Juliet on there, and an unseen poetry and a comparison of unseen poetry. That is also the exam that students will be taking in November. So that is their second PPE for English literature. Lots of parents and carers and students often ask what they can do to support their young person when they're at home. So on the screen in front of you are some things that you can be doing at home. One of the things is checking their homework, making sure they're revisiting their English literature texts, purchasing copies of the text for the students so that they can make notes in those, getting any revision guides. The CGP ones are quite affordable, and as long as they say AQA on there, they are suitable for our course. At home as well, students can be going on the AQA website, can also be looking BBC Bite Size, it's still really useful. And there's also a Pixlet app, which is an app the students can download on their phone. There'll be more details about that later. And also if they go onto GCSE Pod, which there'll be more details for that later, there are lots of videos and podcasts that students can watch at home to support their English language and literature revision. I'm now going to hand back over to Miss Dodd to talk to you about GCSE Maths.
Hello again. So just to talk to you about the GCSE Maths exam. I'll talk to you about the assessment to begin with, because we're in a slightly different position to English and science in terms of the content that's on each paper. So in the real GCSEs, you'll sit 3 maths exams. They're each 1.5 hours in duration, and they're each 80 marks each. There's 1 non-calculator paper and 2 calculator permitted papers. It's also tiered, so there's 2 tiers, higher and foundation. Highest tier students can achieve a grade 9 to a 4. Foundation tier students can achieve a grade 5 to 1. Now, in terms of the decisions that we're making on tiers, obviously the PPE will take that into account in terms of moving students from tier to tier. But the final decision on that will be done by Christmas. Okay, so students will be set on the right pathway by then. In terms of the content that students will study, they're the 5 strands in maths. It differs slightly on each assessment, on each tier, as to how much is on. But we don't know in terms of each paper as to what content will be on there. So number, for example, could come from any paper, as could algebra, etc., etc. You'll notice that there's a higher emphasis on algebra and geometry, on higher compared to foundation. And obviously the challenge, the content is more difficult on higher than on foundation. In terms of what's going to happen in the PPEs, we're running 2 exams. Each an hour and a half in duration, 80 marks each, and we're going to do 1 non-calculator and 1 calculator paper. Again, bearing in mind students' well-being, but we do want to examine a lot of the content. In terms of supporting your child with their study of maths, I always say you learn maths best by doing maths, and we've got a range of activities for you to use in order to support your child. So there's some online resources, Hegarty, Cole-Burke Maths. They both have tutorials that support students in their study, and then quizzes that are based on that content. In terms of what you can use at home, we'll be supplying past papers, we'll be supplying exam question booklets, and also the CGP revision guides as well. I'm now going to pass on to Mr. Broad, who's going to talk to you about science.
Good evening, everybody. As Ms. Dodd has said, I'm going to give you some information regarding science. Firstly, my sort of communication is going to be in 2 parts. The first part is going to look at the actual GCSE science exams for the next summer. As you can see on the screen, if you are doing combined science, which is the vast majority of students, then you can see that you will have to complete 6 papers. Similarly to maths, there is a foundation and a higher tier. And for the PPEs, obviously students will be entered for one of those tiers, but there is options for students who, depend on the performance, for them to change tiers. And again, like maths, we will be making those sort of final decisions by Christmas once the first set of PPEs has happened. Of the 6 papers, you can see there are 2 papers for biology, 2 papers for chemistry, and 2 papers for physics. All the papers are 1 hour and 15 minutes in duration, and that's all the papers that the combined science students will be completing. In terms of the students doing triple science, and again, the students should know who they are, it's on their timetable. So 11 TS is the option group. If the students are doing triple science, again, you can see there are 6 papers. The papers, again, just like the combined science and in maths, they're tiered. So there are foundation and higher papers depending on which tier the student is entered for. 2 biology, 2 chemistry, and 2 physics. Slight difference to the combined science. If you do foundation papers in triple science, it is 1 hour and 15 minutes. However, any students doing the higher tier papers, it's actually 1 hour and 45 minutes. So that summarises the exams for the students for next summer. In terms of the PPEs in November, as has already been said by Ms. Cole-Burke and Ms. Dodd, we've obviously reduced the number of papers that the students need to complete. Ultimately, if you can see on the screen, each student will complete one biology, one chemistry and one physics paper. And similarly, the triple scientists will also do the same. And again, the durations of those papers are on the screen. All the students in the triple science group, we expect them to do the higher tier paper in this exam, and all the combined scientists will be doing an hour and 15 minutes papers. In terms of what the science teachers are going to be doing between now and the PPEs, again, we're just coming to the end of a particular unit within the scheme of learning. So what the plan is between now and the PPEs, there will be 2 designated revision lessons for each science exam. So that means there'll be 2 biology exam revision sessions, 2 chemistry and 2 physics. And in the week before the PPE, the science department will be completing practice paper questions, and the students will be marking those questions in green pen in those questions in order to give them that final little boost and preparation before the exam. And your teachers, I haven't got a list of the topics that they've got on each paper, but your teachers will give you revision topics in order for you to target your revision over half term and during the PPEs in November. In terms of some revision tips, just quickly, and again, to reiterate some of the points, I don't want to go over the same points that have already been raised, but things like GCSE pod, BBC Bite Size, and the link is on the screen. What I would say to the students, you need to mix up your revision, is try doing all sorts of revision, listen to podcasts, watch videos, make revision cards and so on. One thing that does come up, I think, was quite a common mistake, error, however you want to describe what students make, is that they don't always complete all the questions on an exam paper. And what I would say, it is only to get from one grade to another or one level to another, it is only actually 1 mark. It's actually important to make sure that you read through all of the questions, and there may be parts of questions that you can't answer, but also sometimes students don't read all the questions and complete all the parts that they can do. So I think that is quite an important point, especially in science. And again, PLCs, that's something that we do across the school, is students should use their PLCs to set specific science learning targets. So look at the PLCs that you've been using, see where your areas of strength are, see where your areas that you need to work on, and set specific science learning targets to help you that revision. And again, I think everyone would say this to you, is organise your revision into some sort of schedule timetable. Okay, wish you well and good luck. I'm now going to hand over to Mr. Kinson, who's going to speak to you about how to revision and how parents can support.
Right, hello again. This next section is really aimed for you parents out there. Those of you who have older sons and daughters will have experienced an exam season before, and the stress isn't always just sitting with the students. As parents, you know, we do worry. You know, having been through the experience several times myself, this section is about how can we support our young people as parents going through our sons and daughters through exams. So what's the role of the parents? Kind of view this as got several roles. So the first role is being an attendance officer. You know, the evidence is really clear. Students who have outstanding attendance, 95% or above, on average achieve 1 grade higher or make 1 grade higher progress than people who have attendance below 95. And as that attendance drops, the progress is even less. So getting students every day in school on time is absolutely essential. It's prerequisite to making outstanding progress. A resource provider, it's not just about ensuring there's the revision materials, the school will provide lots of materials, but it's also ensuring that there's a nice quiet place to work. In school we will provide opportunity after school, but you know, obviously we're not open late into the evening and won't be open all weekends. Also making sure they've got the stationery, but also are your sons and daughters getting enough sleep? Are they getting to bed early enough and getting a full night's sleep? Because that's, having sufficient rest is absolutely key to make sure that the following day learning is maximised. And the saying is, we are what we eat, and healthy eating does show, and keeping hydrated does aid learning and will really, really help during that exam period and the build up between now and then. Study buddy. So we've heard some of the suggestions about revision cards, and sometimes it can be quite lonely and quite hard to keep going with revising. So just being able to, well, at least kind of be able to test on some of the factual recall. So, for instance, in maths, do you know the key equations? In science, do you know the key words? English, have they learned the quotes for their text for English literature? So just supporting with that factual recall, or going through revision guides, and as the slide says, being a study buddy. Project manager or overseer, just supporting, ensuring they've got a plan in place, all their resources are there, and just helping your sons and daughters, making sure that they've got themselves really well organised, can be really, really helpful. Even just asking the question, what are you planning to do this evening? Or when they finish work, the question is, just tell me about what work you have done, can be really helpful, because what that does, that just reinforces the learning that they've done previously. If they're able to recall and talk about it, it's very important. This one's quite a key one. I'm sure all parents will have been through this. I certainly know to myself that at times modern technology can be a wonderful tool, but also can be a point of conflict. My advice is to say that in terms of game consoles, yes, there does need to be some downtime, but that really has to be as a reward at certain times of the week. Has revision, has the homework and study been done throughout the week, and then maybe they can have a bit of time, a limited amount of time playing games. I would say mobile phones, unless you're actually using the mobile phone for a particular revision activity, mobile phones need to be left in a separate room. We've all been there. We're busy doing something, we hear the vibration or the notification note, and people immediately start to look at their phones. They're designed to make you do that. So remove that from the equation when they're working. Ask them to leave it in a different room or hand it over to yourselves. Also, I would say in terms of using things like computers and laptops, again, the exams involve writing on pieces of paper. It involves writing, it doesn't involve using a computer. So revision at this stage, really, you don't need a computer in the room or a television screen. I know in the past I have offered parents, if there's a particular issue, especially with games consoles, I have looked after game console the controllers during the exam period for people. If you wish that to happen, do let me know, and we can look after them here at school so they're not a distraction. Next, people might recognise, I think the parents might recognise the picture, Mr. Motivator. It's been that motivator, it's been that person. There are going to be times when your son or daughter will find it difficult to motivate themselves in the evening or at the weekend or after school. And as parents, keep it positive and keep them going and keep them motivated. And that's a really key role that as parents you can play. Not always easy, if perhaps meets a bit of resistance, but keep positive with them, keep them going. Every little bit will make a difference. And now I'm going to hand over to Mr. Djemal.
Okay, yes, I'm going to talk about mental health, something that's extremely important and something that we're very aware of, especially over this period where we've got COVID-19. So what is mental health? Well, it's something that we all have, just as we have physical health. It's equally as important. And mental health means that we feel good about ourselves and that we're better prepared to manage our emotions. People that have good mental health are able to cope better with what life throws at us, and we generally feel more in control of our lives. And it also provides us with the ability to seek support when we need it, and this is obviously going to be really important for our students this year. So exam stress. We need to be aware that exam stress can be a real problem for our students. It can lead to many different illnesses, such as depression, anxiety, such as panic attacks, or maybe worse. And furthermore, exams can make any pre-existing conditions worse. So we absolutely need to be aware. And so what can you look for as a parent? Here are some of the signs which may suggest your child is finding things difficult. So if they're worrying a lot, if they're feeling tense, suffering from headaches or stomach pains, if they're not sleeping well, if they are irritable, if they have irritable behaviour, or they lose interest in their food, or they may eat more than usual. Maybe they're not enjoying activities that they previously enjoyed, or they're in a negative or low mood and feeling hopeless about their future. If these are the main areas that we would be looking for, and we're looking for these at school as well, so we can help beat the exam stress. Some of these we've spoken to you about already. Mr. Kinson has gone through some of them, and so the first one is ensuring that your child eats well. It's proven that a balanced diet is vital for good health. So ensure that the children are eating well. Remember that some food and drinks that are high in sugar can have a negative effect on them, can make them hyperactive, irritable, or moody. One thing our students are not good at is getting enough sleep. I know for a fact that my students like to stay up most of the night and go to bed early in the morning. They need 8 to 10 hours of sleep per day in order to feel good. And we know that good sleep improves concentration. We need to be flexible during exams. So this is to do with any household jobs and chores that you may set at home for your child. What we would be suggesting is that at home that you remain calm, and that you may say to them, maybe not do the household jobs and chores over the exam period. The exams won't last forever. They can get back to those chores and those jobs when the exams are finished. So without putting that pressure on them at home, let them focus on the exams. Help them study. Try and give them somewhere comfortable to study, and just ask, how can you support them? There may be things that you can do that you haven't thought of, and that they will be able to give you some ideas. Talk to them about exam nerves. Remind them that it's absolutely normal to feel anxious. It's a natural reaction to exams. I remember being at school and feeling extremely nervous. Encourage them to do practice papers, encourage them to do actual exam questions, and that will help alleviate some of the exam stress and some of the worry, and help them feel less scared when they actually walk into an exam. Encourage exercise. Obviously, as a PE teacher, exercise is proven to boost energy levels, help clear the mind, help you feel better, and relieve stress. Do not add pressure at home. Be extremely positive and reassuring before exams. Give support to your child, and avoid any type of criticism. Make time for treats. Think about any rewards that you can give your child for doing revision at home and for getting through each exam. They don't have to be expensive rewards. It may be a case that you cook them their favourite meal, for example, and then when the exams are over, you can help your child celebrate by maybe organising an end of exams treat for them. Certainly at school, they have quite a large support network. Obviously, it's their form tutor. I'm always around. Miss Tufnell is our student manager. She's always in the corridor supporting our students. Miss Passery is our family liaison officer, and Miss Cole-Burke, who is overseeing Year 11 this year, our assistant head teacher, is actually based in the same corridor as us, and is always there to support our students. So I think that covers mental health and the support network. Now going to move on to what options the students have here at the end of Year 11. So I'll hand over to our Director of Sixth Form, Mr. Bucho.
Good evening, everybody. Right, so I'm proud to be the new Director of Sixth Form. I started in September. As you can see the results there, I can't actually take the credit for those, but they're a great set of results. As you can see, we had nearly 1 in 2 students gain an A star to B. Nearly 80% of an A star to C, and every student actually passed. And that's at A level. And also, when you have a look at our BTEC, we had 95% distinction to merit. That puts us in the top 10% of UK providers. So that's something for us to be very proud of. And these are some of the students that went on to some top-end destinations. As you can see, one of them actually made it to Cambridge University. Those are some of our BTEC high achievers. One thing for people to be very aware of, A-level and BTEC now are seen in exactly the same way in terms of currency. So for example, an A star would be exactly the same as a distinction star in terms of points. An A would be exactly the same as a distinction, and a C grade at A-level would be the same as a merit. So it's very similar in terms of, you know, should you do an A-level, should you do a BTEC. And that's our new structure. So we're quite lucky to have two senior progress leads, one more in charge of academic and the other one vocational, as well as a full-time student manager. Now, in terms of, you know, should you go to college, should you stay at school? There's a few things for you to think about in terms of, you know, where you should be moving towards. One thing to think about if you're staying at school, number one, here the teachers know you. They know your strengths and they know your weaknesses. As a result, they're in a good position to be able to plug the gaps on the areas that you need to. Number two, is the personalised support that we give here. Colleges really don't give that. They haven't got the time to. It's not their fault, it's just the way that it is, because 100% is dedicated purely to just academia. Here we've got that personalised support, we've got that pastoral support. And also alongside that, we've got that extracurricular enrichment opportunity for them. So for example, we've got our university visits, we've got universities actually coming in to speak to our students, and we've also got a very good student mentoring programme. We've actually got our A-level students supporting our lower school students as well. In terms of the courses that we offer, we've got, I believe, just over 20 A-levels. Have a look there at the different types of subjects that we offer. And we also cover quite an extensive range of BTECs, single, double and triple BTEC. In fact, when you look at the offer that we've got both across our level 3 courses, BTEC and A-level, I do not know of any other school sixth form that offers such a broad offer. In terms of the entry criteria, if you have a quick look there, as you can see for your A-levels, you need to be gaining quite a high level of grade at GCSE. You should be looking at least, for a subject that you're looking to study, at least a grade 5, and in some cases, especially the sciences and maths, a minimum of a 6. For your BTEC courses, because it's more of a mixture, not just exam, you've got the controlled assessment, you've got the you've got more of a mix, so it's not just about the end of year exams. As you can see, it's a slightly lower entry criteria. Now, in terms of next steps moving forward for year 11, you've got our sixth form virtual evening, where we'll be going into a lot more detail about our sixth form, and that will be near the end of November. Alongside that, we'll have our application process that opens up online. That will be open from the end of November up until January, and you will have until January the 11th as a deadline for applications. Then as we go through the applications, February, March time, the year 11s will be having their sixth form interviews in school. From then, we'll have a look through all the different interviews, and around March, April time, offer letters will be sent out. Hopefully, you'll be successful. And then currently, because at the moment we're not exactly sure what's going to happen, but between May and July, GCSE exams should be taking place. Now, results day, again, it may change, but it looks like it will be the 27th, currently the 27th of August. But that's, you know, that's open to change. And in September, sixth form commences. So those are the main timelines and the main things for you to think about. The biggest thing I would say for current year 11s is just make sure at the moment that any piece of work that you do, any assessment you do it well, or you do it to the best of your ability, because you never know, it might be used as an evidence base as it comes to the end of your year 11 time. And I'll pass you over to Mr. Djemal again.
We're getting quite close to the end of the evening. So the next thing I wanted to go through with you is that every student this morning has been given a support pack. The support pack encourages students to be independent and resilient, and it contains a number of things. In there you will see that there is a support pack for the parents. There are some revision strategies in this pack as well. I'll just hold it up for you. There's lots of different things in there. If any of the students haven't picked up one of these today, we have them in the office here, so they can just collect them tomorrow. There's all their logging details and passwords and revision apps and ideas in this pack as well. So lots of things that are very useful that the students can make use of over this year, and in particular over the exam period. Finally, we also have this good luck exams postcard, which we are asking you to complete for them, to wish them luck and to give them a boost during the exam period. Please return this to the school, or you can send any message via email. The email address is on the screen. I think we've almost reached the end of the event. It's time to have a look at some any questions that have come through to us whilst we've been delivering this live. So I'm just going to have a look over here. When could my child apply for the Lea Valley sixth form? I'm going to hand this question back over to Mr. Bucho.
End of November, we will be having our online evening. At the same time, we will be opening up our application process. So we'll have an online application form. It'll be on the Lea Valley website, and you can log in and sign up around the 26th of November, if I'm not mistaken. It will have up until the 11th of January. Then when you complete that, we'll be able to have a look over that and give you appointments and interviews at some stage between January and February. And offers will be made around March, April time. We have not just the courses that we offer here at Lea Valley, we've also got courses that we offer at Kinson County. We're lucky enough to now have a trusted one, so we are able to offer courses on both schools. We currently have 32 students, I believe, that's currently at Lea Valley, that also go over to Kinson County. We have a minibus able to take them there and back, and then we'll benefit from the cost offers that we have. Thank you.
Okay, the next question is, thank you, sir. Next question is, what will you do in year 11 to help my child catch up on work missed? Miss Cole-Burke is going to answer that question, so I'll hand over to her.
We're doing lots to support year 11 to catch up on the work they've missed. You'll remember from the Kinson section of the presentation this evening, he spoke about period 6, which starts from the 2nd of November. For 3 weeks, students will have the opportunity to come on a Monday, on a Wednesday and a Thursday to revise English, Maths and Science. The first quarter of English, Maths and Science are the only exams, as you would have seen from this Dodd section of the presentation. We have 2 PPE papers in the exam period. Following the PPE exams, we'll do lots of work here at school to work out the gaps in our students' knowledge and their understanding and skills. And then we'll have period 6 opportunities for all of the subjects that students study. As well as this, teachers are working really hard in their departments to plan interventions and also to plan in-class resources to support students for the work they've missed. In the registration, lots of work is being done from Mr. Djemal and the tutor team to support students in revision and independent study skills. And so all of those things over the year will help to support the young people in the work they have missed due to a lot. Thank you, Mr.
Okay, next question. I think I can answer this one. What support will my child have to make their sixth form and college choices? So we're covering a lot of this information with regards to next steps during our tutor time. We've got quite a detailed learning journey that we've planned for this year. We're going to be looking at lots of different careers. We're going to be looking at trying to match up student skills and abilities, likes and dislikes with certain careers. And trying to find some ideal jobs for the students to start thinking about. We've also got them many career interviews have started as well. So every student in year 11 will be having a careers interview this year. Many have had them already. The next question: what will you do to ensure my child isn't stressed during this important year? I think I can answer that question as well. I'm not sure it's possible to eliminate stress and anxiety entirely. We're always trying to support our students as much as possible. And as we said in this presentation, there is a support network of people here at school, and they have a support network at home as well. They see their form tutor every morning. I'm always around every day. Miss Cole-Burke is here, and Miss Tufnell, and the student manager is always here. We have a number of counsellors that are on site should somebody need some counselling. There's availability there as well. And all I can say is that we're all going to try our utmost this year to ensure that we provide as much support as we need to the students so they can reach their potential and have a successful year. The next question. I want to understand more about what will happen if we go into lockdown and if teacher and school predictions are used again. I'm going to hand this question over to Miss Dodd. Should we be able to give you the answer?
Hello, nice to speak to you again. Obviously, the intention at the moment is of the government is that we will sit GCSEs. They have been pushed back. You might have seen in the news this week by 3 weeks, so they're called after half term. However, should we be asked to provide centre assessed grades like we were last year, we will be looking for any evidence we can to ensure that students are given the maximum possible grade they could be. So I just want to reiterate what we've all said tonight. Please, please, please give us the evidence to give you fantastic predicted grades. We'll draw from classwork, we'll draw from PPEs, we'll draw from any other assessment data that we might get in class throughout the year, and we'll pull that together to give a centre assessed grade for your child. Yeah, but I just have to reiterate, please allow us to be as positive as we possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dodd. Next question. How will we be informed whether our child will be entered for foundation or higher or triple science? I'm going to hand over to Mr. Broad, who's the science lead.
Okay, good evening again. So in terms of the PPEs, students have been entered and the decision has been made in terms of their PPE exams coming up in November. The results of those PPE exams obviously will be important. Students that perform exceptionally well will have the opportunity to discuss with their teachers and senior staff to see if they can actually move up to doing higher tier papers as opposed to the foundation years, which will give them the opportunity to get obviously higher grades. In terms of moving from combined science to triple science, that is still an option, but again, those decisions will have to be made by Christmas, which that'll be the final point in the year, because obviously there is a significant amount of additional work that triple scientists need to cover as opposed to the combined science students. So ultimately, you need to perform in your assessment for PPEs included, and the better you perform, which will give you the opportunity to discuss your final entries in terms of science, and I believe that will be the same for maths as well. Okay, thank you very much.
I've asked Mr. Broad to just stay there because there's another science question. The question is, my child is currently on the foundation paper for science. Will they be able to move to the higher paper?
In terms of the PPE in November, so your student concerned would need to do the paper that they've been entered for at the moment, but they just need to show in that examination, in that assessment, perform well in that assessment, and then they'll have the opportunity to move up to a higher tier if we feel that they're going to be strong enough candidate to actually perform at the higher tier paper. So it is the option, but you need to perform in your PPE in November.
Thank you, Mr. Broad. So next question is, will there be any virtual revision? I'm going to hand this question over to Miss Cole-Burke and Miss Dodd.
So in terms of virtual revision, I know we offer opportunities for online resources. I know from the maths perspective, there are no opportunities online to support with maths study. Hegarty is a fantastic website that we subscribe to. Students have been given information on how to log in that in the pack today. And there are various other online resources. I know that English and science as well.
The BBC website is a large area in terms of science. Again, it's very easy to get onto the actual papers. If you want to look at papers, you can actually use those resources in terms of science.
And you will see on the screen, or hopefully just still behind you, we have also put in all of the student packs today their login details for Pixel suite of apps. So they included in there is the English app, there's also a maths one, a geography and a history app as well. So all of the resources we have talked about today are all available online. You access the students' phones or devices and will really support students to revise.
Great, thanks very much. Next question is there any help with work experience this year? There isn't going to be any work experience in Year 11 this year. We're going to cover a lot of that in our learning journey, in tutor time and through assemblies. Now we're aware that that's not the same as actually being on work experience, but work experience will take place as and when you go into the sixth form. So we do have work experience in the sixth form. Will there be any holiday and Saturday revision classes? Hand back over to Miss Cole-Burke.
So holiday and Saturday revision classes are things that have happened before in the past, and obviously we will assess the need for them as we continue throughout the year. But absolutely, it's an opportunity for us to do that, and we will look into times when we can do that. The most important thing for students to focus on is working really hard in their lessons, their timetable lessons, and also making sure they attend their period 6 revision sessions. But at some point of the year, it may be appropriate to do Saturday or half-term revision sessions, and we'll give parents and students lots of notice.
Okay, question from Rachel. Thank you, Rachel. What grades do you need for Lea Valley Academy's sixth form?
It would really depend on the course that you're interested in doing. So, for example, if you were doing level 3 BTEC, there'd be a different entry criteria. Normally, you're looking around grade 4s and 5s for level 3 BTEC. You've got a mixture of exams, controlled assessments, and coursework. If it's A levels, the entry criteria is higher. You normally minimum 5, normally 6. So the maths and science is 6/7. So it really depends on the courses that you're looking to do. If you have a look on our website, I believe that they've got the entry criteria on. And at the end of November, we'll have the online evening, the virtual online evening for sixth form, when we reiterate the entry criteria.
Okay, so there is one more question with regards to the sixth form. How does the sixth form work now it is part of the Edmonton County Academy Trust?
Right, I'd say 2 or 3 main points here. Number 1, we've got our timetables aligned. So courses will all be delivered as if it's one big sixth form. So you've got the courses delivered at ECS, Edmonton County, the same way that we've been delivered at LVA. So the timings are the same. And if there's any transition, for example, period 2 or period 3, there's enough time for students to make it from one campus to the other. That's number 1. Number 2, the fact that we've now got 2 schools means we've got double the expertise. So as a result, we're making sure that what's being offered is offered in the right way. And that's why the result of the last 4 years, for example, at ECS, puts us in the top 10% of UK sixth form providers. In terms of the offer, that also means we've got a broader. So rather than just looking at what ECS offers and looking at what LVA offers, we've now got a trust approach. So we've got a much broader offer than previously did, which I think I've mentioned before, and probably puts us, well, I would say definitely other than colleges, we've got the broadest offer of any school sixth form in the borough. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Next question is, what happens if my child does not get a 4 in English and maths? I can answer that question. If you don't get a 4 in English language or maths, you are expected to retake those subjects, and you'll either retake them here or whichever chosen college or sixth form you choose to go to. The next question here is, will students have any downtime this year, like trips? I think if you speak to any of the students in Year 11, they'll say that I'm probably the best head of year for trips. I do like to take students on a trip. However, it's proven a bit difficult this year with the situation with COVID-19. I can assure you though, as soon as we're allowed to and it's approved by SLT, I will be arranging some trips for the students. I'm hoping that we can maybe get something done around Christmas time, because I think that this will be after the exams and obviously at the end of term as well. But we're just waiting to see what the situation is like around that time with regards to the pandemic. Another question here. What should I do if I think my child might need some extra support with their exams? I can ask this question as well. Please get in contact with us. Miss Redmond, who is the Director of Inclusion, she will be able to look into this situation in more detail and see if the student is eligible for any extra support. So please do get in contact with me or directly to Miss Redmond, the Director of Inclusion. Next question. What if my child is dyslexic or autistic? Will they get extra time for their exam? Again, that's a very good question, but it would go straight to Miss Redmond in our as our Director of Inclusion, and that be dealt with by the Inclusion Department. When can we've done that one. Bear with me while I move down the list. We've done that one. What would happen if there is a circuit break in England? So I'm going to hand over to Mr. Kinson, who's going to answer that question for us.
Hello, we've done a number of things in terms of preparing the curriculum for in case there is a circuit break. So to begin with, we have already ensured that we've built our curriculum in time to make sure that people get through all the course content. Of course, the exams have been pushed back 3 weeks, but what we're saying to staff is still make sure that you finish those getting through the course by the original time. I mentioned at the beginning, please make sure your son and daughter have access to Teams. If there is a circuit break, for any reason, in some cases in the country, and actually here in Enfield, where some whole year groups have been asked to self-isolate. If that happens, you're continuing all lessons, a full timetable through Teams, and we'll be expecting students to log on and complete work as normal as they would do in the school day. Teacher would also be logging on and be available to provide explanation and support for each lesson.
Thank you, sir. There's a question here from Harry. Thank you, Harry. Are the GCSEs going to be harder or easier this year? I'll hand back over to Mr. Kinson.
Well, every year there's always some variation in terms of the degree of difficulty with GCSE, but what actually happens is there's a standardisation process. So grade bounds every year do vary slightly, and really what you have to do when you have as a student is you have to get as high a group as possible. So every year the same percentage of students, the top percentage is about 0.5% get 9, the next percentage get 8, and so on. So, don't worry about it. If the paper's hard, I always say in a way that's great for you because you need less marks to get a higher grade. So, what you're really aiming is to get as many marks as possible. The more marks you get, the higher the category that will put you in terms of the percentage matched to the grade. Oh.
Thank you, sir. Are the exams 100% confirmed to be taking place this year?
Well, if you'd asked me that question this time last year, I'm sure we would have said, yes, the exams will go ahead. However, they didn't. Now, at this stage, the plan is that the exams will happen. We cannot guarantee 100%. You need to prepare as if these exams will go as full as possible, but also you need to also be prepared for your mocks to ensure you get as high a grade as possible. And we've already heard this talk about the process of setting centre assessed grades. So in a sense, you've got two opportunities. You've got an opportunity in the PPEs, get a great set of results to ensure you've got a great set of centre assessed grades. That's also going to provide great preparation for your GCSEs and your exams. And just in case of, for any unforeseen reason, the exams don't go ahead, you've got that to fall back on. But my advice is you need to be preparing for the exam and expect them to happen.
Thank you, sir. Does my child have to do all the topics that would have come up if lockdown didn't happen?
Now, we're constantly getting updated information from the exam board. So what we are ensuring that all teachers are regularly visiting the exam board, seeking what the advice is, and as that advice for exams is updated, we're informing the students. It's really important you listen carefully and use the materials that the teachers are giving you to ensure that you know exactly what is on in the exam. I believe there are some adjustments that have been made in English, and your English teacher will have that for the students. My advice: be really careful. Don't listen to information that's given on social media. Even sometimes information that's given on the national news is sometimes misleading. Listen to your teachers. They're the experts. They're the ones who are going to the right sources to get the right information, and then pass that information onto you to ensure that you are revising information on the correct material.
Thank you, sir. Is period 6 optional?
Yeah, it's still me answering this one as well. We've arranged the timetable. You'll notice that at present, Year 11s are finishing a little bit earlier because we've moved the day forward. Period 6 are compulsory. They are there as part of the curriculum. They are there to support the students. They are there as part of the compulsory day, school day. We expect all students to be there, all students to be engaging, all students to be using that valuable support. They're going to be in small groups. The work is going to be tailored for preparation for exams, and that's why it's compulsory, because it's going to be great experience and a great inspiration. You know, we've had people asking about what we're doing to ensure students catch up, that time lost. Period 6 is an essential part of that strategy, and that support helps students prepare for their exam.
Thank you, sir. If there is a lockdown before mock exams, what will we do?
Okay, again, you know, what we're going to do in terms of if there is any lockdown will be exactly the same as what we've talked about. If there's any, you know, we have to, a year group self-isolate, or if there's a circuit breaker, we will expect lessons to continue. They will continue as normal through teams. The expectation is that all students will be expected to log on, attend, will be taking registers, exactly the same way we do now, and those lessons will happen virtually.
Thank you very much. A lot of questions answered there. The next question is from Nicola. Thank you, Nicola. What is the pass? What is a pass for a grade?
Hello. So with the new system, with the grade 9 to 1 system, a 4 is classed as a standard pass. So a grade 4 or a grade 5 is classed as a good pass. And obviously, like Mr. Bucho said earlier, different qualifications at sixth form will require different entry requirements. So it might need grade 4s and above. It might need grade 5s and above. Thank you.
I think we're nearly there. There's a few more questions. This one's from Katie. I think a lot of parents might be thinking the same thing as this. How can I stop my child using their devices all the time, such as their PC? I think I would say, first of all, to stick to a revision timetable. And if they stick to their revision timetable, remove the devices, remove the distractions, what we spoke about earlier, at the times on the revision timetable where they're covering their subjects, and then they can have those things after they've done their revision. So I think it's removing the distractions at the right time. Did you want to answer anything else on that?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I think Mr. Kinson also wants to add something, so I'll hand over to him.
Yeah, I'm going to speak as a parent. You know, I've been a parent who has gone through several exam seasons with my own children, and I know that I think sometimes, my own son, he liked to play computer games, and yeah, there was that issue. And there's some things like changing passwords, and it can be a challenge because, let's be honest, our children do know about IT better than parents. But ultimately, you know, if it means, you know, game stations, take away the controllers, we are more than happy to look after them in school if you want to. But also mobile phones, you know, they're not a right, they are a luxury. You know, I'm gonna be probably, I would assume most the parents who are paying for the phones, not the children themselves. So your contracts are probably going to be in your name. You know, you have control, and if it is being a distraction, it's important that that's removed. And I say the same with computers. You know, studies have shown it is not good to have a screen to have screen time just before bedtime anyway. So again, you know, screens should be removed from bedrooms because the science behind it is about the certain wavelengths of light, and they stimulate certain parts of the brain, and it takes at least half an hour to settle down and get to sleep. So, you know, something will probably say, oh, but such and such, they have their phone all the time. all parents are feeling the same way. All parents go through that same experience, and you are taking them away. If it's causing a distraction, you are doing the right thing. If you need some support from school, do let us know. We'll be more than happy to support with that.
So we've got the last two questions. What resources would you give the students to help? I'll hand over to Ms. Cole-Burke.
So one of the things that we've given the students to help them is actually the pack that Mr. Djemal showed you earlier today. There's a lot of information in there, and I'll just recap what Mr. Djemal said. So there's a parent support pack full of lots of advice and guidance to support parents supporting Year 11 students at this time of the year. There is also a student support pack with ideas of how to revise, a template for a revision timetable, some suggested revision strategies, and also login details and passwords to GCSE Pod, Show My Homework, Hegarty Maths, and the Pixel suite of apps. We've also, of course, put a good luck postcard in there, which we think is really important to help to support the young person this year as well. Across the year, they'll have lots of other things to support them, as Mr. Djemal has talked about, careers interviews, the partial support programme in registration will also support them in being resilient learners, in revising and being independent. And of course, all of their subject teachers will as well give them revision resources and support. In addition to launch period 6, every subject will give each student a copy of a revision guide or a workbook for that subject. So as you can tell, there's lots and lots of resources to support Year 11's academic year.
Thanks very much. There are another question has just come in. I can answer it very quickly. What time will the school be ending after period 6? Period 6 ends at 3:20. That means the last question of the evening is, will my child be able to drop any subjects? Mr. Kinson will be able to answer this question.
Thank you, Mr. Djemal. You may have heard of news at the end of last year, that the government was advising that it should consider dropping subjects, but I think it is a decision that shouldn't be hurried. We have built capacity in the timetable for students if they do drop subjects, and some subjects students have already dropped some subjects. At that time, if they do, it's about making sure that the level of work remains the same, and that time saved that's not being used to study a subject is used to revise and study for other subjects. What we are saying is a formal request has to be put in by the parents. That can go to Mr. Djemal as head of year, and then we'll have a meeting and discuss the reasons why, and then discuss it with parents, and then we'll come to hopefully a mutual decision that everybody's happy with, which may be dropping the subject, it may be continuing, but it's definitely part of a dialogue that we'd want to have with parents. But as we say, we are open to that suggestion, especially under the circumstances, and we have provision to support students if they do that. I think we come to the end of questions. I'm going to hand back to Mr. Djemal. He's got some more. Is this one for me, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
Just when we thought we'd got to the end, there's one more question. Will there be anything to replace parents' evening? Good question. I'll hand back over to Mr. Kinson.
We're reviewing a number of options. There are a number of packages out there that allow schools to do parents' evening virtually. So as things stand now, I know we trialled something previously in school with screens, but that was only with a limited number of staff. I think managing something in school just isn't possible at the moment. But we are looking at a system which will allow us to do it virtually. I think it's really important that we keep these links between school and home. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, please do email the school. So general ones would go to tutors or Mr. Djemal. Subject-specific questions, please do feel free to email your sons or daughters, subject teachers, and staff should get a reply, or at least a holding email within 1 working day.
Thanks. So just to close this evening, a huge thank you to the staff for their information this evening, and a huge thank you to everybody for being involved in this live event. As you can see on the screen, this event has been recorded. It will be put on the school website and available for you to watch again, wind forward and backwards to different questions if you need to. but more importantly than that, then there is a survey on our school website as well. You can see it'll be on the pop-up as soon as you go into the school website. We're very keen to get some feedback from you with regards to this event. So we'd very much appreciate that, please. So all that needs for me to do now is to say thank you very much. Have a lovely evening, and that's it. Thank you. Bye bye.